Okay, welcome back, everybody, to your favorite podcast.
The Anchor of the Week.
The Anchor of the Week. Come on. Yeah.
It's a new thing we're trying out.
Yeah. Your favorite. I think the more times we say it, the more times.
Yeah, exactly.
I
I was going to say subliminal messaging, but there's nothing subliminal about that
No.
at all.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, yes, welcome back, guys. We have a fun episode today.
Oh, we are jazzed.
Yes, jazzed. Okay. That's
I can't say buzzing because I'm not English. So.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, well, I'm buzzing for this one. We've got a guest on that we'll chat to a little bit later on. But we want to discuss, going from everything being mainstream and discussing the different things that are mainstream.
Our series that we're currently on called On the Fringe.
Yes.
I'm just putting our real title out
that's
there.
good. That's good. We find that this is, what we're going to talk about today is becoming mainstream, right?
Yes.
Isn't
it funny?
At least bits of it, you know?
How it works. An attempt to be mainstream, or attempt to deviate from the mainstream.
Yes. Then becomes
mainstream eventually.
mainstream. Yeah.
So is the cycle of life.
Yeah.
But we are talking about today political and economic systems. And you're like, oh my gosh, that is so boring.
But it's not.
Yeah. Okay, guys, today we're talking about communism. Today we're talking about socialism.
Yes. And there's a difference.
Yeah.
And not everyone quite knows the difference. And honestly, as we were prepping for this, we were kind of like, okay, we're going to have to do this episode where it's like learning a little bit on the go.
Exactly.
Like, obviously, we've prepped ourselves, but also this is kind of new to us. At least
yeah.
Just understanding it more. So
yeah. And here's the thing, right? So, like, when it comes to these kind of topics, it feels like they've been, I don't know how to say gatekeeping in past tense, gate kept. Like, there is a certain, like, you know, like, if you don't know it or if you don't understand it, you can't really talk about it.
Oh, yeah, let's get rid of that.
Yeah, we're getting rid of that. That is what that is. And we, you know, as you guys know, if you've heard more than one episode of this podcast, you know that Zach and I are okay with not knowing anything and trying to figure it out in real time.
Yeah. As we go. Yeah.
As we go, exactly. Mm-hmm. But this is something that we really feel like it's needed to talk about, especially when you look at politics and government around the world in the past few years, even right now, everything that's going on. Yeah. In Eastern Europe, where you got Russia and you got Ukraine, and you've got all the effects that has. Yeah. And again, with things with COVID, like, been happening, you know, I think we really need to, like, normalize learning about these different political structures and economic structures because, like, we've maybe never had to really think about them before necessarily. But here we are in a time when nothing seems certain and everything seems unstable.
And this is a big deal because I am someone who keeps a hand's width away from politics, but well, not anymore.
If you've been, you know, following this podcast for, like, the past, I don't know, year or so, almost a year. You know that Zach started by saying, I don't get involved with that. I don't really talk politics. And now look at him. Guys. Yes.
Yeah.
This is so good.
This is,
Yeah, but one of the reasons why that we want to talk about this, or something that kind of started this, was, as you guys know, we like to go to protests.
Talk about this.
Which, you know, can't really happen in communist societies, but just putting that out there. Little drop. But basically, once we were at a protest, and I was talking to a girl that had a communist newspaper, and she was trying to tell me about communism. And I was like, okay, I don't know anything about this. I will listen to you. And then while she was doing that, some man holding a socialist newspaper came up to us. And all of a sudden, the two of them started arguing over who would get to talk to me with their little newspapers. And I stood there, and literally was like, what is even the difference? Like, why is this so, like, such a big deal that you guys have to argue over who, like, gets to give me their newspaper? And it was just a very strange experience, which then led me to think, okay, like, maybe one, learn the difference. I don't know, that seems helpful. But, like, two, like, these were relatively young people. I mean, the girl was probably about my age, so in, like, her mid-20s, and the guy was probably, I don't know, like, early 40s. You know, these are people that actually have a say in society. And you see that more and more, especially with different, like, protests that we go to. You know, like, the one we were behind, like, the whole Communist Party or whatever. Like, there's a communist anarchist political group as well. We were looking into that one a few weeks ago, and it seems to be becoming a lot more mainstream. So
more than we realize.
Yeah.
Right in front of us. We have a graph And that separates the two, doesn't it?
It's not a graph, Zach.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's a chart.
What's the difference?
There is a difference.
Anyway,
A graph
okay.
needs numbers.
Really? Anyway. Right. Anyway, that's just not... I actually did not know that. Genuinely. Okay. So we are going to pull the chart up. Yeah. Do you want to hand? You good? So basically just want to talk about like each one and also just the differences because they are similar, aren't they? And
yeah.
Yeah, I guess let's just explain the differences and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, I think with the understanding that most of us that live in the West, we live in a capitalist economic system.
Yeah.
Just fun fact.
Yeah.
Where basically means everything is like private ownership. That whole like, yeah, you want to start a business, you can, you know, and the government doesn't own our businesses and things like that.
Yeah.
Motivated by competition and greed. And also the American dream.
Oh my gosh. Is that an American thing? Is it?
The American dream?
Yeah.
Well, as a
obviously
Canadian,
it is,
I can only theorize. But
but it is a thing. Anyway.
yeah, anyway.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, Zach, why don't you start us off?
Oh, wait, which one's which?
Oh, yeah.
I get to see that. Cool. So communism. Should I be communism and you be socialism?
Love that.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So basic philosophy is from each according to his ability to each according to his needs.
Yes. Where socialism is from each according to his ability to each according to his contribution.
Yeah. So not needs, but contribution.
Exactly. Like there's some pulling of the weight that still needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas for me, it's just what does he need?
He gets it.
Yeah. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Economy planned by central government and
Central government.
central government for you as well. Ownership of economic resources.
Don't you find like or seem so like
Like
knowledgeable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know,
Anyway.
but I'm reading off a graph here, so.
I know.
But yeah, cool. So all economic resources are publicly owned and controlled by the government. Individuals hold no personal property or assets.
Yes.
Interesting.
So you technically own nothing,
Yeah. But
Anyway.
then you're given
but you are given according to your needs.
There we go. That's
Come on,
me.
say it with us, y'all.
Yes.
And then socialist ownership of economic resources would be individuals' own personal property, but all industrial and production capacity is communally owned and managed by a democratically elected government. My contacts are failing me. I'm just gonna.
You good? Lift that up a bit, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So again, there's still that you have personal ownership and you have personal say in who I guess decides.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Distribution of economic production. Production is intended to meet all basic human needs and is distributed to the people at no charge.
And for socialism, production is intended to meet individual and societal needs and distributed according to individual ability and contribution.
Again,
What I put in, I get out.
yeah. And what I need, I get. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly.
Class distinction. Class is abolished.
Good word.
Interesting. Yeah, it is a good word, actually. Abolished. The ability to earn more than other workers is almost non-existent. How interesting that is.
It's
That's
so interesting.
I think that's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, which we, of course, we'll talk about that
We'll
in a
talk
minute.
about it. Yeah.
And then with socialism, classes exist, but differences are diminished. It is possible for some people to earn more than others.
Cool. So a little bit more leeway there.
Yeah.
Yeah, religion is effectively abolished.
And for socialism, freedom of religion is allowed.
Cool. Yeah. So it sounds like yours has a little bit more leeway, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, can I tell you something that I
Talk to me.
learned?
Oh, here we go. Yeah. If you can't see in the camera, Corny's got a political science book.
Political Science for Dummies. If you would like to sponsor us, I feel like the For Dummies
perfect.
brand
Wait.
should sponsor us because I feel like that's what this is. Hey, humility, right?
Yes.
But guys, when we say that we are learning with you, literally,
We are.
we bought this book for the most simple, definitions and stuff because we also want to learn. But basically, what I learned in this book, I'm gonna show you, is basically socialism. Communism is just extreme socialism, and
Yeah.
socialism was supposed to be a step towards communism. Like once socialism is perfected, then communism
Yeah.
is the natural result of that, which is very interesting because that is not at all how I viewed either of those.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But tell me, Zach, do you want to be a socialist?
The thing is, right? I mean, well, okay, let's dive into this a bit more. Because, like, on paper, actually, communism, it's like, okay, this doesn't sound horrific, does it? Really? Like, the idea of, like, everyone gets what they want and stuff. No, sorry. Everyone gets what they need. There we go. Yeah, because that's a key bit.
Yeah, that's a key big.
It is. But everyone, everything's provided for you, right? And everyone's equal, all these things that go on nowadays about, I don't know, even just class distinction and like, people, whatever, aren't equal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It kind of gets rid of all of that almost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In communism. But there's more to it than that.
There's so much more. And I think, like, one of the reasons that, like, why we're seeing it as such a big thing now, right, especially with young people, right, is the socialist or the communist movements, is, right, people are sick and tired of the rich are getting rich and the poor are getting poor, as what happens a lot of time with the capitalist system, because it's private ownership. So then you've got the Bezos of the world that are making all the money, and it's basically it's a competition basis, right? So if you're better and you make more money, then you snuff out all the little businesses that are trying to make its name. And I get that. Like, that's not quote unquote fair. Communism is based on quote unquote fairness. But, like, I'm just gonna say it. Should life actually be fair?
Yeah. It's genuinely though, like
an honest question.
Where are we getting that from?
An honest question.
Yeah.
Is it because we don't like to see other people succeed if we're not succeeding? Maybe.
Like, is that actually why we want things to be fair?
Because I think it's definitely, like, something that we need to, like, think about is, like, are we actually wanting, political and economic systems like this for the benefit of those that are being oppressed by it? Or because
selfish reasons.
Like, I don't want, I don't like it that someone else is making more money than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And of course, guys, we realize we're talking about this at the most simple level.
Yeah.
Like, we understand,
There's more to it than this.
Yeah. But those are good points.
So, socialism.
Yeah.
What about that then? So, in my head, again, just being the kind of, I don't know, not devil's advocate, but just thinking about it from a neutral standpoint, socialism doesn't sound horrific either. Like, if anything, it's just a minor version of communism.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. When does it get wrong in socialism, or when does it get?
Yeah.
Like, what point is it unfair, kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, I think something, or a term that I learned in my research for this, is democratic socialism, which is what a lot of Scandinavia would, I think, define themselves as, because they have free healthcare, free education.
Right.
Like, we're talking, like, university as well.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So there are systems in place where that seems to kind of work.
Yeah.
But then my big thing is, like, I don't know, we were all made with gifts. Yeah. And we're all made as individuals, I believe that God made us with a purpose, and everyone has a specific, gifting, calling, purpose, vocation,
role,
all of that.
Yeah.
So when I think about this, I think, okay, like, that's great that we might all get the same, but is there that space?
Genuinely.
We all need, and I love that, there's no one that's living in extreme poverty. Absolutely. Yeah. But what happens then when you feel like you can't be the fullness of yourself?
Yeah, you can't express yourself even. Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, and it's interesting how we put, like, the value of what we have and stuff like that, and that value. Oh, sorry. Everything that we have and stuff, we put our value into the kind of those things, and it's like, that's what makes me good and bad and better and worse and equal and not equal and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Super interesting.
It is really interesting. Yeah. Something as well, and I don't know, this one might get a little touchy with the recent years and topics, but a communist government, right, has, like, say over, like, all aspects of life. Whereas, like, a democracy and a capitalist system, the government doesn't really have a say about what we do with our personal lives.
Yeah.
Communist government has complete say over that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think especially the last few years with everything's going around with COVID and the
Yeah.
way that government's been making decisions. Like that's been something I think that's been a little bit of a gray area, because I've heard a lot of people, say like, no, like it's great, like that the government is stepping in, that's what they should be doing. And then you have the other side of people like, why are you saying like what I can and cannot do with my personal body or with my
They don't like
household or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's really not black and white, because I don't know, you could see kind of both sides,
Yeah.
I mean, of course you might have your own personal opinion, and I have my own personal opinion, which I might not share on here.
You do though, don't you? Anyway.
I know. Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
it's-
my grandma watches this, so I have to... Hey, hi, grandma.
Hey.
I didn't do it at the end of the episode, but anyway, moving on. My grandma is our number one fan.
Oh, that's funny. It's did.
Yeah, but it's also like we have to see every like aspect of this, and if we want to fight for something or want to fight for a certain political system or economic system, I think it's so easy for us to see just the parts that we like about it, or the parts that will be beneficial to us.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Yeah. We
But-
don't see the other side to
No.
what all these things can offer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I definitely think there's certain aspects of, and actually in our conversation that we'll have later on, but that's been filmed.
You broke the illusion.
Yeah. Let's be real with our team. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but just trying to add certain aspects of communism and all that sort of stuff into our lives, rather than the full extent of it, Because some
Yeah.
aspects I think you can see at and be like, okay, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
there's positives there,
Well, you wanna see my issue with all of this?
Go on.
Okay. Is that
You
power corrupts. So the way that I see this is that whatever political system we have in place, when we have these idealistic views about them, even with democracy, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
so many countries that were in, more communist, like systems fought so hard for democracy. But even when you have that, people that get into power, like we're dissatisfied
Changes
with
you,
that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think when we are putting all of our hope in political systems, we will always be failed no matter which one we enter into, no matter which one we think would be best,
Yeah.
because power does corrupt.
Yeah.
And that's just,
So true. Yeah.
So really we're banking on like the integrity of the people that are leading us, because even in something like socialism where you have more control, but we elect the party, we elect the people that will be leading us and will be dividing, and
Yeah.
There's still that aspect of them. You're really just banking on other people's integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And empathy, and
Yeah, for sure.
like that's dangerous when you put
It
all your
is,
hope
yeah.
in that,
Yeah. I just think when it comes to things like this, politics, and
Yeah.
everything about the government and whatever else, like I just feel like the direct influence it has on us, I don't know, versus like just the things that we can control. And I don't know, a lot of people put a lot of attention on that and like political and this and that, and it's like, I don't know, we need to just focus on what am I doing today, and like the everyday choices I'm making today, and how am I acting and stuff like that, rather than just being, I don't know, let's fight for communism and stuff like that. And they think they're fighting for something, a better life and a better this, or not just communism, but whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I think I agree with that to a certain extent, to be honest, because I
Yeah.
definitely think that we need to, like, we do live with governments, and so we can't just like,
can't be oblivious to it.
No.
For sure, yeah.
but it's true, because it keeps it at like, okay, you know how like when you started out, you were like, oh, I keep politics on
Hands
arm's
width, yeah.
hands width, and it's it's
Yeah.
just with the relatability of like the day to day, right? And you're kind of deferring responsibility in that aspect.
Yeah.
But then you also have the flip side, where if you just, as you're saying, just focusing on the big picture, then you're deferring responsibility of this.
Yeah.
Of the sorry,
That-
I'm pointing to us.
Yes.
Of the
But yeah,
the intimate, the relationship, the
Yeah.
personal aspect of life.
yeah.
Um,
And I feel like that happens so often though. Like we're so focused on, I don't know, we just forget the everyday choices.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, like if you're fighting for a certain political system, maybe like communism or socialism, but do you just ignore every, homeless person or rough sleeper that you see walking down the street?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's a good,
That's a great
yeah.
way of looking at it. Yeah.
Should I tell my story about the guy that came into the coffee shop?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slight
This is
detour,
good,
but
yeah.
this is a good story. So we were at our coffee shop that the church runs called Think Coffee and Ink in Camden High Street. If you want to come, plug. And I was volunteering there one day, and this guy came in, and he was telling me basically about like how we need to take down capitalism. And I was like, ooh, spicy fun. I like this. You know, like I'm here for this conversation. But he was basically saying, you should give me a free coffee because, like, you know, we should go for more of the fairness of communism. And by me giving him a free coffee, we'd take down capitalism. I was like, sir, I don't think me giving you one free coffee is going to actually take down the man, you know, the top 2% of this world.
He has the right idea.
Yeah. I was like, I'm pretty sure you just want coffee. I was like, well, here's my thing though. If this was a big thing and if everyone on the high street said, hey, we're going to give out free coffees today to like show it, like, you know, that's a different thing. But, oh, yeah. It was just such a funny experience to me because I was like, actually, I'm just going to lose money because we're still being a capitalistic system and I'm going to need to make money to compete with all the other, you know, like so we can pay our rent.
Yeah.
But it was so fascinating to me. And I was like, first of all, that's not how that works. But then it got me thinking, well, what if we all did that? Yeah. Would that be how change happens?
I mean, I know he was abusing
the system a little bit.
But I think it's honestly, it's the right idea. If you want to make changes in small moments like that.
Yeah.
Not to condone what he was doing.
Not to condone, but free coffee.
Yeah. Great. So, we had a conversation.
Yes.
With our man.
That is, yeah.
That's the best way to describe that. But yeah, we basically he had an experience, his childhood. He was growing up in a communist country. So we wanted to just hear his thoughts on what that was like. Growing up in that system.
Yep. So now that we have you've heard me and Zach ranting about this.
Now you
hear a little bit of a framework now.
Of someone who was actually in it and the effect on him. So.
All right, so let's check it out. Let's give him a call.
Okay, Marek. Am I saying that right? Like the actual proper way of saying it. Yeah. Marek. Cool.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, mate. Really appreciate your time. You are a good friend of ours, Dad. Ours is Dad.
Yeah, pluralizing that.
Yeah. So we're buzzing to have you on. Obviously, we want to talk about your experience with communism and stuff like that because we're kind of learning really about that. So
yes.
So we want an insight, and we know you've lived it. So why don't you just introduce yourself first, just like who you are and where you come from and a bit of background sort of thing.
My name is Marek, and I grew up in Czechoslovakia, which is now the Czech Republic.
Right.
Yeah.
I live in the suburbs of Chicago right now, but I lived under communism for my first 18 years.
Wow.
And my son is your coworker.
Shout out to Daniel. Yes. All right. So Czechoslovakia, and I think a lot of people have heard about this in history, but do you want to explain kind of like what that communist rule looked like? Because that was under the Soviet, if I am understanding that correctly. So just kind of what that communist rule looked like back in those days.
Oh, do we have hours or?
Not loads of time. But
there were two aspects that looking back, it's you can analyze it. Growing up as a child was really easy and fun, but looking back, there are two aspects, like the economical and the political. The economical is the communists in 1948, they took over all the factories. Yeah. If you own a factory with more than, 15 people, they nationalized it. And you had to basically leave the country because you became the enemy of the state because of the capital. So everybody left. The state took over all the factories and gave them to people to run who didn't have any experience with running a factory or a shop or a farm. So basically, they before the war, Czechoslovakia was, I think, like economically number 10 in the world.
Wow.
And then after the war, they basically took over perfectly good companies, and they basically run them down to the ground.
Wow.
And but everything was run from the government. So you knew milk cost 2 crowns, bread was 4 everywhere you went because it was centralized. They could charge more. It was kind of nice. And when they decided to raise prices, they would announce it on TV. Tomorrow, bread's going to cost 5 crowns instead of 4, and people were upset. And so there was that part, which we could analyze for hours how it worked out, because everybody had to be employed by law. Everybody had to get a job. You had to have a stamp in this little red booklet that you had a job. If you were unemployed, you would go to jail.
Wow.
And so everybody was employed, but nobody really worked, because you were not working for yourself. You were not working for your company. You were working for this government-run company that nobody really cared if it succeeded or not, because it had to. It was run by the government.
Wow. Yeah.
So we used to say, they pretend to pay us, we pretend to work. And at the same time, everybody was saying, if you don't steal, you're stealing from your family.
Wow.
Because you were not stealing from anybody, you were stealing from the government. So people would build their cottages in the mountains from from materials stolen from their work.
Wow.
Everybody knew that. So that was the that part. But then it was also the political part. I think that looking back, that was the hardest, because you had to basically you were told what you have to say, what you had to believe. So it was difficult for children, especially because at home they would tell us stories, what was going on, but everybody would say, don't dare you repeat it at school. You don't get a, don't say anything. So growing up, we had these two realities that were different. And you could not travel. You could travel only to the Eastern Bloc. And my uncle lived in West Berlin at that time. And I was allowed to see him only once. And I had to get a special permit from the government that I could go. And it went down to the funny details, like they would ask my like a building manager if I put up Russian flags on the window for May Day. And if I didn't, I was not a good citizen. I couldn't go.
Wow.
So every year, parents would say, "Put the flags on the window so we can go see your uncle."
Oh my gosh.
Wow. I don't know if you mentioned this, but Daniel was saying that you could only go, is it like one person at a time?
I don't.
Is that right? Or did he make that up? Like only one of, because you have brothers, so you were saying he was saying that like only one of you could go at a time to visit.
To Western.
Yeah, I forgot about that. They would my grandma could go all the time because she was retired and they didn't care. But then I got the permit once and my brother got the permit once. They would not let whole families travel because they were afraid that we would stay and not come back.
Wow.
A lot of people would go on vacation to Yugoslavia and just go over the mountains into Italy and stay, never come back.
Wow. Because it was almost like, the way he explained it was like a deposit or a thing where like to make sure that you don't all go, one of you has to stay. It was like
that was like the family was the shield.
Yeah.
Like there was me and my mom would go, or my brother and my mom went. We could not go together.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Wow. That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
what a different world.
Yeah. And so what happened? So obviously we know that Czechoslovakia is now the Czech Republic. Can you kind of explain to us, like, well, I guess maybe when you moved to the States, kind of what that decision process was like for you and your family, but then also seeing the end of communism, I guess, in your country, and just kind of what that looked like. What does it look like now? Can you walk us through that process a little bit?
I was in college when it all happened. Well, the Berlin Wall started crumbling with actions. You can look it up, even on YouTube. They have great videos. East German citizens jumped in over the fence into the West German embassy in Prague in 1989. And there was about 300 of them, and they demanded to be sent to West Germany. And so we were watching on TV. Nobody could explain it. It was crazy. And so then I was in college, and then the revolution started. There was it's a long story, but basically, so we went on strike. The whole country went on strike. But at that time, everything was already crumbling. Nobody believed the media. Nobody believed the government. The economy was going. It was it was really not all that great. So it was really easy for them just to walk away, and we took over. And the hardest part was what to do with the companies that all of a sudden they were state run. How to turn it back into people run companies.
Yeah.
So everybody got kind of funny. Everybody got a little booklet with 1,000 points, and you could invest. It was like almost like a stock market. You could invest those points in any company you wanted.
Oh wow.
And so that's how they turn it back to the people. You could own stock in the company, or you could sell your booklet. What I did, I didn't know what to do, so I sold the booklet for like 10 times more than it was worth, and somebody else invested it for me, and I got the money and bought 2 bicycles with that.
Nice.
There you go.
And so it's not, now it's just a Western state. It's well, you have to go to Prague to visit because it's beautiful.
Yes, I've been once, but only for a weekend. I'd love to go back again sometime.
Yeah. So what was that like? So we've discussed, I think it was a couple weeks ago, we were saying like those ages of like when you're in childhood, you kind of, it's hard because your parents are in it and stuff, but what were the implications for you at that age? Like we've discussed it being the mainstream, and we just make decisions based off the things that are around us, and we don't really consciously think. I know as a kid, you don't really have a choice as well, but do you think that's affected you now and your decisions today, just growing up in that kind of environment?
Funny question. No, it's a really good question because I see it myself. I don't like to admit it. Like growing up, cereal. You went to the store and like, oh, we don't really have cereal. All we had was cornflakes if you were lucky and like showed up on the right day.
Yeah.
You went shopping and like, oh, they had strawberries at the store. I bought strawberries. Everybody was happy. And so I go to a store here and I see walls of cereal, and it like literally I'm traumatized because I don't know what to pick.
Wow.
I picked the one they had. The bicycle. They had one bicycle that you could buy, one TV, one everything. So like you want a tape player, you went to the store and bought the tape player that they had.
Yeah.
So now it's like, oh God, researching and like, oh, it was so much easier on one hand, but the quality was really poor because there was no competition, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is so interesting.
Yeah. And so what would you say? Like if someone was just to like generally ask you, hey, like, Marek, what do you think about communism? Like what would you tell them? Like your general thoughts.
as you can see, communism doesn't work because there's no communist country that is prosperous.
Sorry.
Right? It's all turns into just poor, poor society with, you know, a lot of poverty. In 1968, there was a Czechoslovakian president. His name was Dubček, and he decided, or the fraction of the Communist Party decided, what if we keep the good parts of communism and get rid of the bad parts, like censorship and all that.
Yeah.
And everybody got excited. And there was 1968, there was freedom in Czech. Movies were made, books were written, people could travel. It was amazing. They kept the economical part intact. But everybody was happy, and all of a sudden they are discovering a new way of life. And of course, then the Russian came in with tanks and stopped that. So, so we don't really know if it was going to work with just the one aspect.
Yeah.
Just one aspect of the communism, and people had freedom to do whatever they wanted, but you'll never know.
Wow. I didn't know that.
No.
That is very interesting, actually.
Wow. Cool. Yeah. Brilliant. Marek. What a cool name.
I know. We've both been trying to pronounce it properly.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I mean, I think that's covered. What we wanted, really.
Honestly, just to hear your story and your perspective, as we said, someone that's actually lived it. And in recent years as well, you know, it's not like this was like 200 years ago. This is within recent history. So,
right.
Yeah.
So my dream is to go to Cuba to see, it's still kind of communist and come down, and cars from the 50s, and nobody wants to go with me because they're like, Cuba, like, why would we go? And we can go somewhere else. I'm like,
hey, I'll tell you what, Zach and I will go with you, okay? And we'll make it a whole thing. Like,
I'll tell you, I mean, you can do your podcast, and we'll take pictures. It'll be fun.
There we go. Sounds like a plan. Amazing. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, mate. Yeah. Appreciate your time. And we'll see you in the summer.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Cheers, mate.
All right. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Amazing. Wow. What a discussion.
What a chat.
So good, to be honest.
So good, honestly.
Yeah. It was just so great to hear like firsthand experience.
Yeah.
Something that we've only ever read in textbooks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I knew the whole Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, you know, I knew all of that.
But he actually lived it.
I know.
Yeah, man.
And it was just like, oh, like that's something that happened. You know what I mean? Or like, but it's crazy.
Yeah. And even just, I don't know, like everything costing the same wherever you are. Like just small things like that. It's like,
I know.
Wow, what? Like genuinely, it makes you think, what would that be like if that was like what it was like now? You know? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
As you said, like it takes away the competition, so everyone just gets one crappy TV. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
literally.
Yeah, and it's because there is no competition, so everyone just gets what they get, which is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And
honestly, it does make you think a lot. Like
it really does.
Yeah, I'm not for communism here, but that is cool. Like the fact that like I don't know, in my head it's like things costing the same all over. Like and even just having the same thing. Like it takes greed, it takes things like that away, doesn't it?
Well, does it really though?
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Because greed is not a money problem. Whoa,
hello.
Sorry. Greed is not a money problem. Greed is a humanity problem.
It is. But if we all have the basics,
wouldn't we just be greedy in a different way?
Maybe, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. But I think it adds to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's like social media. It just
here we go.
No, it speeds up the process.
It's true.
But anyway,
but,
you're right, actually. Yeah,
but it is interesting what he was saying about how like no one actually really worked because it was like you don't care about your job and everyone gets paid the same amount and you have to be employed.
Yeah.
And the government just you get a job from them, like, so no one actually cared or invested anything.
Yeah. The quote pretend to be paid, or like pretend you get paid, pretend to work.
Something like
Remember?
that.
He said
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Oh, I wish that was the quote.
Man, that's
I know.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, like that is like, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, that's not a nice way.
No,
No way.
like no
So
passion.
So passive, so
Apathetic.
yeah, so apathetic.
You know, and you understand it. Like you're not given a reason to fight for anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you think of like the jobs that we have that we just don't enjoy, but we do it because almost you have to. There's no life, you know.
Yeah.
And it sucks. Yeah, it's not nice.
It really does suck the life of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He mentioned something else. Oh, the effects of him, of the effects his childhood had on him, like today and stuff like that. Yeah. That was super interesting. And like just, I know like as we discussed as well in the past couple of weeks, just the idea of like those decisions that we make, or I guess he didn't even have a choice. As a child, you're just
born into it.
Yeah, you're just born into it, aren't you? But the effects it has on him now.
Yeah.
All those subconscious decisions, all the decisions that he didn't make, essentially.
Yeah.
The effect that has on him today. And like, does he regret it? Does he not? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah. And also, like, as well, if we're going to talk about, like, going against the mainstream as, like, our series is, like, how people literally revolted. And, of course, it's more than Czech Republic, right? This was a whole Berlin Wall falling.
Yeah. For sure.
But, like, literally a bunch of people deciding, like, now we've had enough, you know?
Yeah.
And what was it? Like, you said, like, 300 people at the embassy being, like, no. Like,
Yeah, literally, yeah.
like, let us out, you know?
Yeah.
It's so, I don't know, kind of inspiring, you know?
It is, honestly, yeah.
But also at the same time, I'm like, oh, like, it's so easy to see looking back, be like, oh, that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know? But when you're living it, when you're in it, you know what I mean? And there's so many things that, like, a kind of more politically volatile circumstances that we're in right now. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh, is this the right thing to do? Or is, you know what I mean?
No, like, yeah,
like,
I totally do. And, like, what made that the right thing?
Yeah.
At that time, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what situation are we in today that makes us think, is this the right thing? Like, and actually act on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I wonder, it's easy for us to look back now at that situation and be like,
oh, there was clearly a right and a wrong.
Clearly, but when you're in it, like today, I'm sure we're in a situation, even just, you know, not just politically, but like, we'll look back on in 5-10 years, even just that short space of time, we'll be like, I don't know if that was right, or should we have done something, or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
You question things, and it's so much more clear, but when you're in it, it's not.
It's not clear.
So it is really, it's cool, like, it's the fact that they were just like,
yeah,
no, this is not right, and actually did something about it.
Yeah.
It's inspiring, honestly, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not to, like, bring this super up, but, like, it reminds me of, so I'm from Canada, if you guys haven't figured that out yet, because I've only said it 3 times this episode. But basically, they had it was a big, like, truckers convoy, right, protesting government mandates. This was recently, this was the beginning of this year, so the past, like, 2 months maybe. And the government enacted the Emergencies Act, which used to be called the War Act, I think.
Okay.
I don't actually remember, but essentially it was put in place for essentially like invasions of war, and then they they changed it back in I think the 80s or something like that to be more of like the Emergencies Act. Mm-hmm. So the government pulled that because, you know, they thought that this protest that was like blocking major ways or whatever, you know, was a national quote unquote threat. And okay, I'm not there, you know, so I can only say so much. Yeah. But I know people on both sides that are super like against the convoy and for what the government did. And I have people that are super for the convoy and against what the government did. Yeah. But just to watch even the different sides speak up and be super vocal about it, you almost like leave sitting in the middle being like, well, there has to be a right and a wrong, right? Like, so someone has to have it wrong. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Like, and it's really fascinating to me because, as you said, like, it's like living in these times, and you don't know every once in a while, usually. And yeah, like, was that right for the Canadian government? Because basically the Emergencies Act, what it does is it like gives the government full control, basically of anything. And if they can just arrest people, they can control, you know, any aspect. You know, and they were like reassuring people, like, well, don't worry, we won't enact anything that like is an infringement on like the civil rights charter
sure.
that we have and all of that, but
Yeah.
it still was like, oh, like, is this communism? Like,
Yeah,
quote
no,
unquote?
no,
Like,
yeah.
is it aspects of it? Is it bad? Is it good? You know?
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I'm processing this as I'm
Yeah,
asking it. Or
let's do
saying
it. Yeah.
But, like, is it a right or wrong? Like, is one right and is one wrong? Like, I don't know. What if none of them are? What if both options aren't right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even just communism or this. Like, what if there's a... This is going way out there now. But what if there's a way that we haven't figured out yet? Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
if... I don't know. Don't know what I'm trying to process out. But just the idea of, like... I don't know if there is a right or wrong. Just... Or have we really figured that out just yet? And we kind of hold on to these things quite tightly sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, but I think it might just go back to the whole, like, will a political system save us?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with no.
I don't think so, no.
I think that was rhetorical, but
Like, I just feel like there's always going to be a problem. There's always going to be some
Yeah.
person upset from something.
Yeah.
It's so hard to please everyone. You
Yeah.
can't please anyone.
No.
Everyone.
Of course
Anyway.
not. But does this mean that we should stop
No, it
getting
doesn't.
involved in politics, Zach?
No, it does not. No, let's be clear on that. It does not mean that. But yeah,
Yeah.
just some outside thoughts.
Some outside thoughts, yeah. But yeah, I mean, as you know, we see with history, revolutions are what kind of changed things and brought new
Yeah.
systems in. So
Yeah.
maybe it is time to think outside the box.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch this space. We start a.
Yes, I gotta start a political party. I would have to graduate from reading the political science for dummies,
Yeah,
though.
we need to finish the book first.
Finish the book.
Finish the book first, and maybe we can consider it.
No, well, guys, we hope that
Yeah, that was fun.
that you enjoyed this. Hopefully you learned something. We learned something.
Yes.
So through our verbal processing, we hope that you learned something as well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as we always say, we want to normalize these conversations, the
Yeah.
awkward ones, you know, that we feel that, you know, awkward having, or
Yeah.
that maybe we don't feel like we know enough. Let Zach and I be your proof that you don't have to know everything about a conversation to have a
Yes.
conversation about
Yeah.
it. And to have it recorded for people to hear as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
But yeah, so let us know your thoughts as always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you think about socialism?
Yeah. And thank you, Marek.
Big time thank you.
Huge thank you. Yeah.
Huge thank you.
Big ledge.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see him this summer when
Yes.
his son gets married.
Yeah.
To our friend. That was
To
the
our friend. Anyway. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. And
Yes.
we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.